Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. This is the sequel to the 2014 film. This is from 2019. It runs about 2 hours and 1 minute long. That 1 minute has probably at least most of the credits and the extra credits. But yeah, this is a sequel that follows up on the things that we saw in the first one. It sort of gives a sympathetic view of the one of what's considered probably the most evil of all Disney princess villain characters, portrayed by Angelina Jolie, who is darkly devious and wicked and all those things. In this one, she's a little bit playful, somewhat out of her element in some cases, and she's actually very vulnerable. So it makes for some interesting new views on a character that we thought we knew so well for almost a century now. Um, I don't want to give. This is still fairly new. Actually, this is an hour. Yeah, it's still fairly new. So I'm not going to give away any of the big spoiler twists or anything else in case you haven't seen it. I hadn't seen it before. Like I said, 2019. It's not that old. So, but what we're gonna, I'll set up what you probably can figure out from the trailers and everything else. Aurora, she's now queen of the moors, the area in which the where all the magical creatures live and everything else. She's inherited it from her parents, who are now gone. Of course, she was raised in a sense by Maleficent, and makes for a very tense relationship with her godmother, who's a little bit offstandish and also somewhat protective, but also kind of just wants everything to go her way. Aurora, she just kind of wants to make sure all the people in the moors in the area are just well taken care of, that they're not, you know, being treated badly, or they aren't also asking for war or death. Some small little creatures, some pixies and fairies and things like that, have been missing, suddenly disappearing from the moors. So that's been a little bit of concern amongst the creatures, wondering if the humans have been messing around and taking them. So we get pretty quickly, we move pretty quickly on into the idea that there's more going on in her life than we realized at the beginning. Philip, I think it's Philip. Where is his name? Yeah, Prince Philip. Well, he proposes to her, and she says yes. It's not a big spoiler. They're going to get married. Well, of course, it leads to a meeting of the families. So she has to bring her godmother along with her to dinner to meet Philip's parents, who have a humongous kingdom of their own. And Dad is very friendly, very, open to the idea of connecting their kingdoms and being having no trouble. Mom is of a different opinion, and she's played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And if you're ever going to put Angelina Jolie up against somebody who is as tough as nails as she is, you're going to pick Michelle Pfeiffer. So this leads to a nice little battle of wills between the two of them, even if they don't really connect again until toward the end of the film. But yeah, there's a lot of drama that gets built up. There's a lot of action. There's some major discoveries when Maleficent discovers that she's not as alone in the world as she thought. She has allies that have been lying in wait, especially for this moment when they realize that their world might be in danger. Some people, basically, it's people that are on her level, that are not just little pixies and fairies and everything else. Yeah, there's big, scary, strong trees, but in the same level of fae that she is. Let's just say. I probably just gave away too much there, but still, you have to see it to understand what's going on there. So we get to see in all of this a very, like I said, much more vulnerable Maleficent, which I really didn't expect to see. And Angelina Jolie just plays it perfectly. She's whereas she always puts on a very snooty, powerful front where nothing can phase her, and she's pretty much has everything under control. You can see pretty quickly that is just a facade in many cases. Not always. She is a badass, but when it comes to Aurora, you don't want to mess with her. So, and you're like, oh, I thought they were enemies, and she'd poison Aurora and everything else. There was just, all this, made her Sleeping Beauty and all this thing. Yeah, but there's a whole lot more to their story than we understand. And very often, throughout history, throughout our world, there's people who decide to spread let's say, false information about certain people, about certain situations, about certain relationships, and yeah, you understand how that works sometimes. And so Maleficent has been somewhat the target of a smear campaign. So it turns out that there's so many levels also to this. There is Angelina's politics that come into this, and I'm not going to go into all this, but there's a whole lot of nods to like immigration and foreign entities and racial purity and all sorts of conflicts that we see in the world today that that inform this story. So it informs the bad guys' motive. It informs the good guys in how they sometimes unknowingly step into a world they don't really understand. They don't realize that some people will be happy to take advantage of their trusting nature. And so yeah, I'm trying to be very vague, but you can't really miss a lot of the innuendo when it comes to some that not innuendo, but you know what I mean. It's there, and some people may say that kind of maybe might drag down the story. It's not really like, hey, this is something that they're going to beat you over the head with. It's not that at all. You just get to see that things aren't exactly what they seem, and why Maleficent is who she is not exactly why you think. She's just not evil. And it really comes down to motive, and it comes down to how people express that motive. And sometimes Maleficent is just a little overbearing in some cases that may make her out to be a villain in some people's perception. And obviously she's the main character, she's the title character, so we have to see her as a sympathetic creature, sympathetic person, and that's what kind of drives the story along. Is she evil? Will she turn one way or the other? There's people who are saying that she should just take down the humans for the crap they've done, and there's some people who are like, hey, you know what, this is our opportunity, this is our chance to bring people together, and it comes down to her to decide what decision she's going to make, and what she chooses will very much decide how the world goes forward. She's easily the most powerful being in this entire film, but she is not without her weaknesses. So just to let you know, there's some other actors in here you might appreciate. I'll never be able to get his name pronounced properly, but Chiwetel Ejiofor. He was Mordo in Doctor Strange, and he was in Serenity, and a ton of other stuff. But yeah, there's Harris Dickinson playing Prince Philip. Elle Fanning, of course, is Aurora. There's also, let's see, Sam Riley is Diaval. He's the crow guy, I think. Ed Skrein is in this. Yeah, there's a bunch of people. There's a girl playing an organ, a little red-haired girl, shoots crossbows and plays an organ with a certain level of passion that is unsettling. I think that's Jen Murray. Oh, and I'm not going to spoil. It's not really a spoiler, really, but there's a scene at the end where there's a number of fae flying through the sky, and I'm pretty sure that's Angelina Jolie's kids. just a guess. I didn't look at the credits, but I'm just gonna guess that it was them hanging from strings on the doing a whole green screen moment. So yeah, that's Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. I think it's maybe not not going to be counted as my favorite movie of ever. It has some great action. The special effects are pretty solid. I love every time they show you the castle, the area, the kingdom that is the battleground for the final scene, the sequence. It almost it gets bigger every time they show it. It looks massive, and it's beautiful. I would love to just spend a week walking around that. I have a feeling you could just spend a month and not see everything. But yes, it's totally digitally rendered, but it looks great. The land, the moors, and everything else. It's beautifully rendered. I think we're well past the whole 3D era, so there's no attempts to make it look really cool 3D. It just looks great. So they put a lot of effort into this. I don't know if this movie did as well as it should have, but honestly, like I said, I didn't see it until now, so couldn't tell you. And that's not really what makes a good movie, whether it's box office or not. There's some really great movies that didn't do anything at the box office, and there's some really awful movies that did gangbusters. So try not to bother with all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. But yes, so you know what? If you've seen the first one, you're going to want to see this one. By the way, strangely enough, you cannot see the first Maleficent, on Disney Plus. It's not there. It's still, I just checked, it's still available on Amazon Prime. So there's a pre-existing agreement that's still in place. Eventually, when that expires, I'm sure the original Maleficent will show up on Disney Plus along with the sequel. So, all right, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
354.
Staying at 300s. We are really sticking with that. 354. Oh. Okay. All right. It's a series. I think hopefully it's the really classic series. I don't know I don't know. We'll find out. But we'll watch maybe 1, 2, 3 episodes. We'll see how long they are, how it goes. But we're gonna visit. I'm hoping it's the original. The Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. 354 Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. MICKEYMOUSC. Maybe. All right, we'll find out in a few. But I'll see you back here tomorrow to talk about Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you then.